By virtue of the turnover chain, though, we see why the Hurricanes are so good. And that's because their defense is creating simple fields, better field position, and their own points. And once that snowball started to build on Saturday against the Irish, Notre Dame couldn't stop it. That's where Notre Dame got exposed. They faced adversity. They had the crowd on their back. The turnover happened, and they couldn't step up and prevent it from getting out of hand. And it happened early in that game. That was the first time since the Hurricanes have moved to that stadium that it has felt like a Miami Hurricanes stadium or a Miami Hurricanes fan base. Oh, yeah, they'll put fans in there, and there's old school fans of the Hurricanes that go back to the early 80s and the Schnellenberger years and before they were very good and before they were a national brand. So I'm not saying they don't have legit fans. I work down there. I live down there. I know the Hurricanes have legit fans. But once they moved out of the Orange Bowl, they lost that soul. That was their identity, being in that old, creepy, creaky, leaky Orange Bowl. And they moved out of it and to the home of the Dolphins, and it never felt like the Hurricanes had a home field advantage. It never felt like that was their stadium. That was just kind of a neutral site that was 45 minutes away from campus that housed the games, but it wasn't really their house. You know, I was just in Auburn this weekend. There ain't no mistaking whose house that is on game day. But in Miami, that night, Saturday night, felt like a Hurricanes game from the old days, and that finally felt like their house. And so here's the bit. Yeah, the Miami Hurricanes can get to the playoffs. Yeah, the Miami Hurricanes are having their best season in a decade. And yes, the Miami Hurricanes have it all in front of them. I don't think they'll be able to win a national championship because I think they're limited on offense. I think having them win 2 playoff games, and essentially 3, because they're going to have to win the ACC championship game, is going to be too much, too steep a hill. But that's fine. They don't have to win a national championship this year. They don't. That's not what this year has to be about. If they do, great. If they do, obviously it's wonderful. But this is only year 2 of Mark Richt. And Saturday night, this is why this was so significant. National TV, game day there, in their house in Miami, a party all weekend in South Florida. That's the night, that's the game that gets Miami cool again. Miami recruits the way Miami recruits in the 80s, the 90s, and early 2000s because Miami's cool. There's a brand. It's cool to be on the sideline, hooping and hollering with Warren Sapp, with Ed Reed, wearing a turnover chain. How do you get 18-year-old kids to wake up and say, I need to go there? You got to be cool. It's why the Oregon Ducks have had 1,000 different uniform combinations. You got to be cool. And that's the type of weekend and type of night where kids in South Florida go, oh, I want to be part of that. Oh, yeah. I want to be part of that. And all you got to do is recruit South Florida. That's it. And you'll have more than enough talent. Now, Randy Shannon recruited South Florida, couldn't turn it into wins. Wasn't a very good coach. Mark Richt is turning this into wins. Dennis Erickson turned it into wins. Butch Davis turned it into wins. Jimmy Johnson turned it into wins. Howard Schnellenberger turned it into wins. I don't think they'll be able to win a national championship. In fact, I still think that the Clemson Tigers are better and that Clemson will beat them in the ACC title game. But honestly, it's already a win for that program because Saturday night won the city for them. It won the recruiting for them.